Hello, good evening. So today the topic of my presentation, my talk, is going to be on what running teaches me. I have been a runner for almost coming to 10 years, and it began for me when I was completing my undergrad studies as I was staying in the campus, and so I started jogging around the hall which I was staying in. It was the most convenient and affordable thing for a student to do then. Over the years I have easily completed about close to a dozen marathons, from 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers, and even a very memorable 21 kilometers half marathon. And often I'm asked, why am I into running, and why I can actually put in so much effort to keep up with my training regime. And throughout my uni days, I have always pondered about this question: what do I really appreciate and enjoy about running? And frankly, I was actually clueless. Even though it is something that I have always been doing, but it is not something that I've always enjoyed, nor it is something I find that I am really good at. But when I was about to complete my undergrad studies, I changed my perspective about running. On 5th of December 2005, I attempted my first 21 kilometers half marathon. And very honestly, my only motivation then was this. The only motivation was to really stay in shape, look good, so that you can, under the influence of friends, I can look good at the upcoming graduation parties. And when we arrived for the marathon, there were already throngs of athletes, as we can see at the starting point. So despite the crowd there, we all jockeyed for position, and amid the bustle and thunder of thousands of feet hitting the pavement. And although I have been running, but I wouldn't consider myself as a fast runner in comparison with the standards of most of the athletes there, including my friends. So shortly after 30 minutes, I distanced myself away from the competitive crowd, and I found myself to be jogging beside this lady who looked like in her 50s. And she also looked like the over-friendly sort. And indeed, she started making small chats with me. And her name is Anne. Anne seems to have the power of making people speak to her very comfortably. And I shared with her my very superficial reason for participating in the marathon when she asked. And I think she did not look at me in a different light then. But as when we approached, we are nearing the water station, we saw a group of participants who walked away from the track. They gave up and they were leaving. And she said to me, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. It's always very disheartening to see young people like them quitting halfway, and they chose to err on nothing. I kept quiet, and I avoided eye contact with her because I was also guilty of quitting halfway in some of my past runs. And at the same time, I was also very disturbed with her comments. So when we continued the next leg of the race, I asked her back the question, so why are you into running? And it was beyond my wildest imagination. She replied me with 4 words, spoken with gusto: running saved my life. And she shared with me that in her early 30s, she was already at the peak of her career, and she was happily married with 2 children, a boy and a girl. But this pinnacle moment was a short-lived one. When her son was 12 years old and her daughter was then 10, the family went on a holiday in New Zealand. But it was also at this holiday that she lost her husband. including her two adorable children. The whole family met with a tragic traffic accident. And I can still clearly remember, she spoke to me. She said in a very husky voice, "I was unfortunate enough to have survived." I believe you and I would not be able to imagine and understand the kind of mental and emotional turmoil that she has to go through there. Yeah, so she told me that she made several attempts to commit suicide but were unsuccessful. And on one occasion, she had to return to her son's school to pick up his belongings. And that's when she met up with the sports teacher, and he introduced her to his group of sports psychologist friends who counsel and change people's behavior through sporting activities. And they didn't really need to take a lot of effort to actually encourage her to join them, because subconsciously she already know that there's a very powerful reason for her to join them, to learn and to experience what her children enjoys and excel in. So she told me during the first few training sessions, she was constantly reminded of the universality of running and of taking care of our bodies and caring for each other, of triumphing over adversity and even at times despair. She learned that running shows our inner confidence and courage, and if we are willing to dedicate ourselves to keep trying, we will get faster, we will go further, and we will go beyond what we could even imagine. She said, "That's how running saved my life." So, although it's my first 21 kilometers marathon, time passed very fast because I was too engrossed with her stories. And we crossed the finishing line after about 3 hours, 15 minutes. But our affinity did not just end there. So we exchanged contact numbers, thinking that we can keep in touch and accompany each other again in other marathons. Yeah, but after just 2 to 3 weeks, I received a call from her. Yeah, so she just asked me, if I have started working. So I told her I was still undecided because I still, couldn't figure out which industry I should go into with my general marketing degree. Anyway, we met up for tea to catch up, and it was only then I learned that she was a director in the Health Promotion Board, a government organization that looks into the promotion of a healthier lifestyle. Yeah, and maybe some of you may have guessed it. She offered me a job, despite I told her a very superficial reason for participating in a marathon. Yeah, but being young and naive, I didn't really think so much. I thought, it's a godsend opportunity. I don't really need to put an effort like what my friends have done. So I accepted the offer and joined the government organization. But the starting was a very challenging and difficult one. I find it very difficult to fit into the corporate life. Struggling with the bureaucracy and the different voices from different departments, and couldn't figure out why people, just can't get their acts together. Yeah. And there were several times I wanted to quit, wanted to give up, without, having even accomplished anything. Yeah. But under Anne's guidance and her encouragement, from somebody who, never into running, who don't know the meaning, I began to understand the true meaning of running, and I finally launched my first project called I Run. Yeah. This program is a CSR program that reaches out to the autistic children to increase their sociability and train their concentration and stamina through running. But again, when developing the program with autistic children, it was a very mentally challenging and physically tiring, very draining. Yeah, but during that time, to abandon my own worldviews and really lower my mentality to understand these children, how they behave, whether do they like it, or they don't like it. Yeah, and it was very tiring, but all my worries and stress were worth the while when I get to see them, starting to open up, and starting to see them enjoying their runs with glowing cheeks, like even bouncing up and down like superheroes, giving it their all at the end of a 200 meters race. This is some of my old pictures. Yeah, so well, I left HPV after a stint of 4 years, but this campaign, this project sustained and remained until today, and it will be so-called celebrating its 10th-year anniversary this coming October. This was a news that my ex-colleague informed me recently, and I sort of got reminded again on the challenges and joy of running and how it became a metaphor of my life. And what I want to share is that there is something for everyone when it comes to running, because for myself, I have seen and how I can take the same approach in some of the areas I'm struggling with in my professional life. There's a diversity of running on a track, to climbing the flanks of a mountain, to competing a race, in a different terrain. Yeah, and even there is also the solitude of picking your own route, your tempo, and pushing yourself. Yeah, but then again, there is also this camaraderie of the team that we must never forget. Yeah, because everyone's performance matters. And running also teaches me another very important thing, that in the race, the only person that you are racing with is yourself. On some good days, you will get awesome runs when all the stars align and everything goes smoothly. Yeah. But on certain days, you get shitty runs when you feel like your feet is just like blocks of concrete, and you can't catch your breath. Yeah. And there's this voice in our heads that will tell you to stop after you have just run for less than a kilometer. But there's also on some days, these voices in our head will cheer you on when you have crossed the 21 kilometers mark. So these voices in our head, it's a battle of these voices in our head. And these voices are struggles that muddles through our lives. And I come to realize that the ability to run is actually your mental state. Yeah. And I will end off my talk with this last note on the best thing and the worst thing of running, which is you will never be able to master it and to perfect it, because every time you lace on your shoe, you are challenging yourself again. The finishing line, it is not really the end of it, but it is the beginning of another phase to improve yourself and strive to be better. Yeah. So with that, I think everyone should start running. Yeah, because there's more adventures ahead of us. Yeah, okay.